If you are an endurance racing fan and love Ferrari race cars, then you come to the right place to watch this video. Ferrari officially announced they're returning to sports car prototype racing in 2023 to compete in the Le Mans Hypercar class and World Endurance Championship. As 2023 is very near, the golden era of endurance racing comes again with brand new top classes and the World Endurance Championship. Ferrari with their brand new prototype hypercar will make an effort to dominate the top tier contesters and aim to win the most prestigious race, the 24 Hours of Le Mans event. Ferrari also debuted the 296 GT3 to replace the 488 GT3 GTE race car and is likely to compete at Le Mans and in the World Endurance Championship from 2024. Ferrari has had multiple successes with the current GTE car and the World Endurance Championship, but despite that, Ferrari had not claimed a victory at Le Mans overall since 1966, which has been over 50 years, and once they stepped out of endurance racing after 1973 so they can concentrate on winning in Formula 1. While Ferrari is yet to come back at Le Mans exactly 50 years after it last raced in a top tier class, let's recap Ferrari's racing history at Le Mans. For starters, Ferrari has come a seriously long way and is one of the top 3 car makers in the world with multiple overall wins at Le Mans behind 2 German manufacturers. Porsche remains number 1 in the world with the most wins at Le Mans with 19 victories. The second one was Audi with 13 overall wins, and then Ferrari with 9 overall wins in its 16-year dominance, which Ford killed in 1966. Ferrari partook in the 24 Hours of Le Mans starting in 1949 when Ferrari, the company, was just 2 years old, and Enzo Ferrari, who invented Ferrari, was in his early mid-50s. It traces its roots back to 1929 when Enzo Ferrari founded the Scuderia Ferrari racing team, who had major racing success between World War I and World War II. He raced for the Alfa Romeo company in Alfa Romeo cars, such as the Tipo B. After the events of World War II, Scuderia Ferrari wanted to take part and design a race car for a long-distance competition to race at 24 Hours of Le Mans to fulfill Enzo's dream. The Ferrari 166mm Barchetta model was built in 1948 and took its name from one of the world's most famous road races, Mille Miglia, in which the Ferrari cars were to win again and again. It was designed to be both extremely lightweight and dynamic while still maintaining crucial structural stiffness. It utilized a tubular steel frame chassis and a 2-liter V12 engine, making only 140 horses to the back wheels and altogether weighing 650 kilograms or 1433 pounds. For the 1949 Le Mans race, Peter Mitchell Thompson, known as Lord Selston, bought a Ferrari 166mm and enlisted the help of Luigi Chinetti, who already had 2 Le Mans wins with Alfa Romeo in the 1930s. Luigi raced the 166mm and drove against a field of French manufacturers, Delage, Talbot Lago, and Delahaye, with far larger engines compared to that tiny V12. But Ferrari was seriously outnumbered by most of the cars that entered the race after the war. But the 166mm was a flawless machine and lasted the entire race, and Ferrari had its first overall win in 1949 Le Mans. Initially, Ferrari was very uncertain that the car would be able to last stand a 24-hour race event and take the crown. The formation of the World Sports Car Championship in 1953 really changed things in motorsports. Teams like Ferrari, Aston Martin, Mercedes-Benz, and Jaguar began to enter multiple factory-backed cars to compete for overall wins against each other, such as the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Ferrari built a large range of sports racers over the next decade and was challenging for them again. It wasn't until 1954 that Ferrari would win Le Mans again. They built the 375 Plus and had to enlarge the V12 engine to a 5-liter, making 330 horses to stay at the top of his game against Mercedes, Jaguar, Aston Martin, and Porsche. Ferrari had a very powerful car and was determined to win for the second time in the French race and the World Sports Car Championship. The Le Mans race was wet and rainy. With the dry conditions, the Ferrari could unleash the power of its engine, while in the wet, the Jaguar proved very agile and tried to recover the gap from the Italian car. Ferrari had to wrestle it out throughout the race to finish ahead with Jaguar in second place. The 1955 Le Mans saw the deadliest accident in the history of racing, where Mercedes and Austin Healey got into a major wreck and flying debris killed a lot of the crowd. 5 Ferraris entered that race, but none of them finished, despite being fast but fragile and suffering mechanical failures. This time, the Jaguar D-Type snatched a win from Ferrari in 1955, 1956, then again in 1957, winning Le Mans 3 times in a row, being lighter, more rigid, and having a monocoque chassis. Ferrari built the 250 Testarossa designed on a similar chassis and shared key features with other 250 models and the 500 Testarossa. The FIA made the rule changes to restrict the engine displacement of 3 liters. As a result, the car had a 3-liter V12 from the 250 GT with 6 twin-choke carburetors. Ferrari demanded reliability and durability rather than overall speed from all factors to achieve endurance racing success, and so they did. Ferrari won Le Mans again in 1958 for the 3rd time, overall killing Jaguars' 3-year winning streak, while Aston Martin and Porsche finished 2nd and 3rd. As they improved the car to stay competitive, the 1959 Le Mans saw the rise of Aston Martin's DBR1 car defeat Ferrari with a 1-2 victory, while Ferrari proved the most powerful, but engine overheating issues plagued their cars. Between 1960 and 1965, Ferrari really pulled themselves through by improving their cars and dominating Le Mans during the first half of that decade, winning 6 times in a row overall with the range of their sports prototype cars. The Ferrari 250 Testarossa would win in 1960 and 1961. The 330 Tri-LM was the final front V12 engined car of all time to win Le Mans in 1962. Ferrari then shifted to creating a mid-engine racer for the first time and introduced the Ferrari 250P powered by a 3-liter V12 with sharp lines with a roll-over hoop behind the cockpit. The car didn't take long to make the name for itself on the track, winning major races such as Le Mans in 1963 of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places. The 275P succeeded the 250P with a slight increase in engine liters to improve performance and reliability, and won Le Mans 1964. The 250LM was the last mid-engined Ferrari to win the 1965 Le Mans race before the Italian team faced a major threat against the American manufacturer, Ford. Ford really changed everything after they entered the competition. Europe saw the Ford GT40 crush Ferrari's winning streak in a heartbeat and made sure Ferrari would never win Le Mans again. Ford killed the Ferrari P3, P4, and 312P 4 times from 1966 through 1969. Both Ford and Ferrari then fell back at the hands of Porsche. While Ford was gone in 1970, Scuderia Ferrari was still present with their all-new Ferrari 512S. It was a Group 5 sports car designed with a 5-liter V12, hence the 512 and the name, related to the Ferrari P car series. It was modified resembling their main competitor, the Porsche 917, and both were entered in the World Sports Car Championship and Le Mans 24 Hours. While Ferrari was successful in World Sports Car Championship, Porsche beat Ferrari at Le Mans in 1970 and 1971. Ferrari's 312PB fought the World Sports Car Championship for 3 seasons, from 1971 to 1973. It won every race for 1 year, except Le Mans, where the car didn't attend and was reasonable due to concerns about the reliability of the F1-based 3-liter flat 12 engine. Usually, an F1 engine isn't allowed in a sports car prototype, unless it's nerfed, in other words, detuned substantially to meet enduro racing rules. Yet it made 450 horses out of 3 liters, at an astonishing 11,000 RPM, and in competition, the 312PB was a beast, and that made it special. Mario Andretti, who was an F1 and Indy 500 champion, raced this car and said it could be thrown around like an F1 car and was small and nimble. It achieved 12 wins, 14 poles, and a constructor championship, and ends an era with a bang in 1973. One prominent thing to remember, the 312PB was Ferrari's last sports prototype car constructed by the Scuderia Ferrari factory team, and after exiting sports car racing for good, they focused on dominating Formula One. Now, this is where things will get questionable and confusing to some folks. Other team entrants raced Ferrari cars in various classes, such as GT Racing, but not by the factory Scuderia Ferrari team. Until 20 years later in 1993, Ferrari returned to sports prototype racing as a constructor with the 333 SP, which was an instant success. The only problem is, Ferrari claims they're returning to Le Mans and the top class of prototype racing in 50 years since 1973, but its Le Mans prototype ran throughout the 1990s, which that is the Ferrari F333 SP. You could be wondering, did Ferrari just forget about it or ignored it? They are referring to its last factory entry, the 312 PB that never raced at Le Mans to begin with. The reason for this is that the F333 SP wasn't developed by the factory team, but instead was built at the hands of Dallara, the Italian racing manufacturer, for customer teams only. You know, the company that builds open wheel and prototype cars like this. Dallara and later Michelotto worked on the F333 SP to compete in the World Sports Car Championship during the 1994 debut season. It was never raced by the factory team, Scuderia Ferrari. However, the car showed very much potential without them. To be successful, Dallara worked its magic by supplying the F1 gearbox and suspension along with aerodynamic development and bodywork. The engine and chassis were, however, developed entirely by Ferrari in-house. Like its predecessor, the F333 SP used an F1-derived Ferrari V12 engine that is used in the Ferrari 641 F1 car, except the engine was enlarged from 3.5 liter to 4 liters. The result ended up producing 650 horses at 11,000 RPM redline and sounds fantastic. It was one of the most reliable Ferrari engines at the time. The F333 SP raced for a decade and fought the World Sports Car Championship and FIA Sports Car Championship and has claimed multiple championship titles in both series. The car managed to secure its first victory at 1994 Petit Le Mans and again in 1998, along with winning the 1998 24 Hours of Daytona and the 12 Hours of Sebring in 1995, 1997, and 1998. The F333s is even raced at Le Mans 24 Hours from 1995 to 1999, while winning those major races in the United States. They never got to win the 24-hour French race. Ferrari went on to challenge for the overall win around the world until the late 90s and early 2000s, when the privateer teams got dominated against the factory team Audi and BMW's top class entries. Since the start of the new millennium, Ferrari's top-level prototype racing program has been dormant for over 20 years, until now. In between times, Ferrari has been competing in GT racing for years in IMSA, World Endurance Championship, and Le Mans by the customer teams. So since the F333 SP was not raced by Ferrari themselves, the company sees it as not being welcomed in the lineup from the Ferrari 312 PB to the new Le Mans hypercar debuting next year. So technically, with their new prototype hypercar willing to compete in World Endurance Championship and likely in IMSA, this won't only mark Ferrari's first return to Le Mans in 50 years from 2023 of prototype racing, but just 24 years after its last competition at Le Mans as recent as 1999. Meanwhile, Ferrari has yet still to provide us with more details and give a name for their prototype hypercar. Based on a sound note from the car, we can judge that it has a new twin-turbo V6 with a mild hybrid system, which means the iconic Ferrari V12s and Le Mans prototypes will stay in the past and will be missed. While the car is still in development and testing on the tracks, the factory team Scuderia Ferrari will enter the FIA World Endurance Championship hypercar class next year. And just like in the 1960s, Ferrari dreams to resurrect their back-to-back winning pedigree at Le Mans and the top class against Toyota, Glickenhaus, Peugeot, Porsche, Cadillac, and many more to come at some point. And though Ferrari's founding father no longer exists, the company has stayed true to his wishes. And now, that is a wrap of this documentary of Ferrari's dominance at Le Mans. For now, I hope you all really did sit back and relax and enjoy this video. If you did, do not forget to hit that like button and hit the subscribe button. We are almost to 1,000 subscribers and we can do this. It really helps me a lot and to keep going with more content on the way. And like I say, every video I put out, you are more than happy to give me any car suggestions in the comments down below. Until next time, Chris the Radar out.